Information creation as a process. It is important to know how to find and use information well in a variety of contexts. Recognizing when you need information and understanding how it is produced, valued, and disseminated will influence what you have access to, how you access it, and how you use it. The Framework for Information Literacy for Higher Education is a guiding document about information literacy developed by the Association of College and Research Libraries, also known as ACRL. It is made up of 6 interconnected core concepts called frames. This video will focus on one frame, information creation as a process. This concept encourages information users to think critically about not only the end product of the information sources they select, but also about the process that created those sources. Information cycle. The information cycle plays an important role in this frame. The term refers to the way that information is produced and distributed over time. As the concept of the information cycle is most often applied to newsworthy events, let's look at an example that has been in the news. In 2020, orcas, also known as killer whales, started damaging boats in the waters around Spain and Portugal. On the first day of the first orca boat encounter, those directly involved would share information about the event by word of mouth, possibly local TV and radio news, social media, starting with those closest to the event. Over the next few days, more information would be shared by local news media, including TV, radio, and newspapers. Over the next few weeks, more information may be shared by weekly magazines, national news, and government information. In the following 6 months to a year, we may see scholarly articles and both scholarly and popular books. Coverage on social media will continue throughout the information cycle. Not only when, but how. The information cycle particularly emphasized the when of information production and dissemination. However, the timeline of various information formats is intertwined with how each format is produced, starting with how the various creators determine whether a topic is newsworthy. To journalists who write news articles, an event can be newsworthy for a number of reasons, including its impact and proximity to the audience, timeliness, prominence of the people involved, conflict, and novelty. Locally, the original orca boat encounter would be newsworthy because of the novelty of the orca's behavior and the proximity of the event. Other nearby boaters could be impacted. Because these encounters between orcas and boats have continued to occur, and because the story is fundamentally about the universal conflict between humans and wildlife, the story has gradually gained international attention. Information about the story has mostly been shared in news sources and on social media. 3 years after the first encounter, there are no scholarly articles or books specifically focused on these particular encounters. This is because scholars use different criteria to determine newsworthiness, and because it takes a very long time to gather information for, write, and publish scholarly articles. Gathering original data about marine wildlife is also very expensive. Each step of the scholarly research and publication process can take months or years. In summary, while journalists and scholars both value novelty, they define novelty according to their other values. Specifically, then producers of news resources highly value timeliness and broad appeal, while scholars tend to value thoroughness and appeal specifically to other scholars. Popular nonfiction books may balance timeliness and thoroughness, but the book writing and publishing process is still very time-consuming compared to articles in popular news publications. Your own research process. It's important to consider what kinds of information you are required to use for your assignment, as well as what kind of information is available on any potential topic. The most recent current events won't be covered in scholarly books and journals, and many newsworthy events are never directly addressed in the scholarly literature. However, you can usually make your own connections between such events and relevant scholarly conversations. Looking at our orca example, you could research orca behavior in scholarly sources, particularly about orca communication and relevant orca-human interactions. News resources on the topic sometimes quote scholarly experts on orca behavior who may have written something about orcas, or they at least reveal the connections that they, as experts, are making between the news and scholarly literature on the topic. Also, when you can't find any information on a topic, ask yourself, why? Possibly the potential information producers don't consider the topic newsworthy or worth the production time and expense. You may look to social media for information that traditional news sources aren't covering, being careful to evaluate the credibility of each source. Information creation as a process. As we've discussed in this lesson, the creation process of an information source deeply affects the final product. Throughout the research process, it's necessary to think critically about how the creation process affects what kinds of information you select and how you use it in your own creation process. Don't hesitate to ask a librarian if you would like to discuss the creation process of the types of information sources you are using.